All right. Oh, hey, the trees are here. All right. Now I just want to know if anybody can hear me. And thinking about trying to use this mic, but it may or may not be good. I'm just going to see. There's a thing for this. So when you do this, right? Connect this. Here, I'm trying this. You hear and see me. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Tiny Captain. All right. If I'm still being seen and heard, that's excellent. That's excellent. All right. So, well, here I am. We got. You see a trucker? Yes, you certainly do. You certainly do. There's more than one here. How's it going, Brainless? I am. I'm inviting anyone to come join me here because just listening to me talk is going to be boring as hell. But here I am. So I have, I think, 26 subscribers, or I did earlier today, which is pretty cool because I started out with 3 subscribers who are probably all members of my own family. So yeah, so I don't have. I can see it here on YouTube. We're gonna see in chat as far as welcome and take him to my stream tomorrow and beyond. Yes. Everyone should go see Commander. I don't know how that works. Hey, Dr. Tap, you are here. So yeah, so I'm doing this little stream here. We're just gonna like talk about fun stuff. The last time I did my 20 subscriber stream, which was like a week ago or so, it went crazy into deep stuff and rough stuff. Okay, I can see the chat. So welcome. Take him to. Yes, please, let everyone go see Commander and their stream because they do some pretty awesome stuff. I've always enjoyed the presentations from Commander. They provide great insight into history and politics and how they interact with each other. Oh my goodness, I'm at 28. How did that happen? All right, so you see here I have a submarine up on my screen because I figured if I'm gonna have a 25 sub special, I should have a submarine here. So I went and checked that out, and is this the one? Here's this the one I'm sharing. So I think this is the one I'm sharing. Anyway, this is a big submarine. Like I see that there's like a 5,000-pound pork truck there. So that's a big thing. All right. So here we go. All right, Commander, adding you to the stage. There you are. Commander, can we hear you? Do I have to?
Yep.
There you are. How's it going?
All right.
All right. Is my
Doing
sound
all right? A little bit tired. No, your sound is good. I hope my sound is good.
Yeah, no, your sound is fantastic. Yeah, so yeah, I know we chatted earlier, and I know you had a 10-hour shift today, which is pretty rough for a weekend shift. So, and I know I've done that before.
Going to maybe be here for hour 30 minutes, and I gotta go to sleep, and I gotta do the same thing again. But I'm gonna have at least 8 hours sleep between, or a good amount of sleep between the time I leave tomorrow. So I should be good for tomorrow afternoon.
All right, that is good. That is good. I think as long as you can get some sleep, I think that's the important thing. Because
Been up over 30 hours.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like you end up running, you run and run, and you get so wired you can't get any real rest in between, and then get yourself reset. And I've been there many times. And
yeah, when I gave the shout out on my channel, I said 2,500 subscribers.
I heard you say that, and I was like,
to do
I was like, Commander, well, rein it in a little bit there. I'm not quite there. But we're looking forward to it when it comes. When it comes, we'll, I don't know. I might not have to get so many shout outs, but no, I think it doesn't matter where you get. People are still looking for support, and yeah. So for those of you that are new to me, my channel isn't about anything other than I am curious about everything that goes on in the world around me, and I do have my own pet issues that I deal with, I guess, which is maybe the wrong way to put it, but there's stuff I'm interested in, um, as just what I'm curious about, and there's stuff that I'm interested in because it affects me directly, and then there's stuff I'm interested in because it affects other people directly. But I spent a lot of time getting serious and thinking about stuff and getting wound up, and I did a lot of that yesterday and today. I just want to have fun. So if anybody has a fun topic they want to talk about, know about, think
You
I know
got
about,
you got a sub there. Can I tell
I
you a
got.
little story about the New
I want to.
Mexico?
Yes, please do. Please do. Is this the sub that you're talking about right here? The one I pulled up?
No, but
No.
that's a US Navy sub. I don't know what sub
Okay.
that is. But all right. Picture this. You have blueprints and you have holes. You're given
Yes.
machinist reference dimensions to make the bodies of screws a certain length and a certain
Yes.
diameter. So they're all nice and labeled. And we spend an extraordinary amount of time holding really tight tolerances so that only the right screw will go into the right hole when they're putting the torpedo cradles in, right? So
That totally makes sense.
live
Yeah.
with square pegs, live holes and square pegs, round holes and live puppies, they just take all these screws that we made in one shop and with a smashity smash force them wherever the fuck they want so that they bend the deck of the New Mexico. And then when they take the New Mexico out for sea trials, all of Washington, D.C. is in an uproar because the torpedoes don't fucking load. So
Mm.
they obviously take it back, they fix the problem. But believe it or not, no one who was involved in putting those damn screws in, bolts in, actually, more correct term, was ever
Yeah.
fired. And the executives gave themselves a giant golden parachute next quarter for not having all of Washington, D.C. screaming at them. Not a golden
That's
parachute, but huge bonuses.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't have to. They didn't even have to leave. The golden parachute sounds all right. I mean, if somebody wants to pay me a lot of money to leave and go leave everyone alone, I guess I'm okay with that.
And
Because I mean,
that is
that
the
sounds
fun
ideal.
things. That is the fun things that happen every day behind the scenes in the military industrial complex, at
It
least
does
from what
not
I've
surprise
observed.
me. Yeah, then I mean, we'll take that. I'm not taking it with a grain of salt, but I'll take it as it's an anecdotal situation. But I've heard about this type of stuff in all types of manufacturing. That lots of planning's done, doesn't always work out perfectly, and the amount of money you have to pay to have people get super good at avoiding problems is one thing, but the people that are priceless, as it were, are the people that can literally MacGyver their way out of the shitty situation and get things back together. And maybe not enough attention and value is seen in that, um, in a general
Um,
sense of how things are done. Because there's some
y-
brilliant people that
fr-
solve problems.
from my experience in a company, well, I guess every company's different, and when you have legacy families and all that stuff. Usually, the people who are priceless, their parents were the people who were good at their jobs, and their children's are the ones who lie on their ass in the bathroom for 8 hours and collect time and a half and time on Sunday. Um, That's just from what I've seen as far as who's priceless. I went to work at another defense contractor, but they also did civilian work. But you wouldn't believe how thick the because when you're doing government work, they say close enough for government work, but commercial work is actually more forgiving. Like to finish
Mm,
like to do repair on a Coast Guard cutter shaft, to put new liners on, and the procedure that's already been worked out in a contract that you got to follow is like two and a half to the paperwork itself. Not all of this concerns you, but you got this giant thick piece of thing you got to go through, and it's like 2.25 inches, 3 inches thick, just to put new liners on a cutter shaft, re-weld and refinish the flange and whatnot. And then
yeah,
the more but it's actually more demanding than commercial work where they're like, "Just get it working, I don't care how it looks."
yeah, yeah. There's, I mean, I've seen all of that in my previous career because I've worked for government, I've worked for commercial, and I've worked for, unfortunately, I've even worked for residential, which I guess technically is commercial, but it's for home users. And I've never liked that because those people are lovely people, but you're working on something that they have a emotional connection to. And then whether it's commercial or government, the emotions can sometimes run high, but mostly it's just the emotions are tied to, are we getting this done or not? And in commercial, sometimes the cheapest way to keep running is more important than anything else. And in government, there doesn't seem to be the understanding that downtime is more than just lost productivity. It's a lot of other things. It's a lot of lost actual cash in your pocket. But I think the other thing is that the ability of people that work in government to actually say getting it right is more important than getting it done quickly seems to be more common. But generally speaking, you just keep seeing people that they want a business like attitude taken with government, which I think is wrong. I think government
Yeah,
should be trying to get
doesn't work.
go, government should not be run like businesses. The government should not be trying to make money. Government shouldn't be capitalist. They should be getting it done efficiently. Yes, that's it. There should be no surpluses. There should be no, like, because surplus means there's profit. The government should not make a profit. There shouldn't be any. There could be a
Well, it
fund, like an
depends, like
emergency fund, or like some margin of error for not having enough to get by. But I don't think governments should run businesses, and I don't think governments should be run like businesses. But they also
in gen I'm
should be
sorry.
careful with it. Yeah, no, you go ahead, Commander.
In general, I agree with you, exception for that, the machining program that I went to in Florida, the guy who was running it basically said he wished he could run a certain percentage of surplus because he might not be able to afford the best equipment to teach us with this year. But if he could run a surplus, he could just for 2 years consecutively, he could start really getting good equipment
Yeah,
where you might not be able to say you get a profit for year after year after year after year, but you might want to reward people for not pissing not having to piss it away on trifling things. Like,
oh yeah,
if he can't run a surplus, so if he's a 2 grand short of a $15,000 machine or something like that, he's got to basically piss it away on this crap, that crap, the other
yeah.
crap.
That's like that's building an inefficiency, and due to rules that are overly stringent, instead of looking at, this is something that happens all the time.
And then schools.
Companies and governments do it. Yeah, and schools are. I mean, here they're a government thing, but yeah, schools will do the same thing. I've seen this in every industry. I've seen this idea where accountants are like, whatever it cost you to do your job last year is exactly what it costs to do this year. There's no capital spending that's amortized over 10, 15, 20 years. They don't understand that exists. They don't understand that like squirreling away money for 2 or 3 years in a row, if there is what you'd call a surplus, isn't really a surplus. It's getting ready for an expenditure that seems to be non-existent. Or if it is existent, you have to fight for so many years to get it in the queue that it's more expedient to just piss money away on bullshit in between. Or at least that's what I've seen happen. And I've seen people say, they've literally said to me, come spend this money. We're repainting this room we painted 2 years ago because we have a painting budget that we didn't spend yet. So paint it so that I can say I used it up. Because next year I need to do more painting and I can't have that shrink. That's the kind of
Oh,
bullshit
and
I've seen happen.
that right there, it's by design. In South Florida, I was actually just before I had to leave, I actually was being mentored by a city manager. If I had stayed in South Florida, you guys would have known my name. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the officers of the Florida Democratic Party were actually in that little room. One of the things that was happening at that time, it was called Christian lending. Lend to those who ask with federally insured money through your banks without expecting anything in return. Yep, your depositors' money and your shareholders' money, just lend that out. The federal government will insure it and you don't expect anything in return. And what that did to real estate prices, my mom was actually able to get pre-approved for a $480,000 mortgage while she was on Social Security disability. She got a promissory note. She handed it back and said someone should be put in prison for issuing that. But anyway, when the real estate prices doubled and doubled and doubled again, you had a problem where the local government was flush with cash, but it was flush with cash with something that it knew was not going to last. And the
Yeah.
local officials tried to budget it by basically making improvement on existing infrastructure, but not necessarily expanding year after year programs. And they eventually, I think they bought some gold because they knew that hell was gonna break loose later when the bubble collapsed.
Yeah.
And the
And there's
state of
been bubble
Virginia,
after
when I
bubble.
came and thing is when the bubble pops, then the demands of the government are to shrink.
Yeah.
And they were down in we're getting into some heavy stuff, but I will say this, if I forget her name. She was a Broward property appraiser. She was appraising people's houses basically on what they paid for them rather than what they were worth, lest she wind up assessing people out of their homes. Because
Yeah.
imagine paying 2 grand in taxes and then all of a sudden it's 12 grand. People couldn't do it. And you
No.
never saw
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it
Republicans
doesn't make sense.
bitch so hard that people weren't being taxed out of their homes because the older residents were more likely to vote for Democrats and the newer residents were more friendly to Republicans. So you had this weird situation where
Yeah.
Republicans wanted to see the old folks taxed out of their homes. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, the property appraiser had a warrant out for her arrest because what she was
Wow.
doing was technically illegal, but
Mm-hmm.
no one in the entire state would serve it and charges were eventually dropped.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's because, some of the people that are involved in running things and making laws and all that stuff are actually not terrible people and they actually understand how real life works. And so if you buy your house in, say, 1980 and you pay it off, and by the year 2005, it's totally paid off and you own it free and clear, and the value of it's gone up, but you haven't received a number of raises. Maybe you're about to retire or you've just retired and you have a fixed income, you are not going to all of a sudden start having a new larger income that deals with those extra costs. And you may in fact be relying on the idea that you can sell or borrow against the equity in your home to make it to the rest
You're
of your life.
not you're not planning on a $12,000 a year tax bill.
No, no, not at all. And I mean, like I've seen this happen in our neighborhood, and Canada is a little less volatile, but not there's no lack of volatility. It's just a little bit less volatile than the US because I think there's a few more I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I know that there's a few more things in our laws that prevent banks and other lenders from doing things that I may now be may now be illegal in the states. But I know that there was a few things where there were loopholes that weren't technically illegal and that people took advantage of in especially I think the late 2000s. Like I think it was 20
What they did
2008.
was
2008 was
they
one of the big bubble crashes, right? Where
what
things
what
were going crazy
happened
with real
was
estate.
what happened was they actually repealed laws that we had on the books during the entirety of the Cold War because
Mm,
the regulations that we had on banks, get this, during the Cold War was communism.
mm.
I remember
Well, that's
listening
not an uncommon take on things down there.
where literally these are the laws we had on the books when Ronald Reagan was saying, tear down this wall. Why are these
Yeah,
laws now communism?
I don't really know. I don't really know, but it is what it is. You know, we can't change what governments do, and I have
We
less
we
control than you do. You get a vote. I don't. I can have an opinion, I suppose, but yeah, no. This
You
is a
can have an opinion and you can try to sway Americans to come to a different opinion, but yeah, it's like I tend not to weigh into the politics of foreign countries too much unless it is blaring because then you wind up running into problems. Take Israeli Jews versus American Jews, for
mhm.
example.
Oh, that's like a
I know
that's
it's
like
like night
that's
and
like
day.
it's like who wants to grab hold of this um atomic potato here. But yeah, no,
I'm gonna
you're
give
I'm gonna
I'm
let
not
you
gonna
speak on it because I'm not a Jew, and I know you have a Jewish heritage and probably a much better understanding, and your knowledge of politics and history are far greater than mine, especially when it comes to U.S. politics. So please.
All right. This is a generalization. I'm not going to speak much further on the Israeli stuff, but in general, Israelis love the Trump because he brings bags of money. The evangelicals leaders put him up to doing things that benefit Israelis.
Mm,
American Jews watch Donald Trump eat dinner with Nazis and know him a hell of a lot better. He's not the man who brings piles of money. Like you have an uncle, right? And
yeah,
to the nieces and nephews, he comes bearing gifts. But the uncle's got a
yeah,
wife who's got a restraining order. And there's a very good reason for the restraining order. And the nieces and nephews can't understand why. So you
yeah.
have
No,
this split
it's an
between
understandable thing. Yeah.
American Jews and Israeli Jews largely over Trump. And it was actually there are forces in America who are trying to exacerbate this. I don't know if you remember in 2021 when the evictions happened where Netanyahu did not wait for the Israeli Supreme Court to rule on whether or not people could be kicked out of their homes because he
Hmm.
knew what the Israeli Supreme Court would do. So he sets off a shitstorm that basically forces once you can say about the evictions what you want, but once the shit storm happens and the radicals start gathering weapons and explosives and gasoline and whatnot, bringing it to the Alaska Mosque in order to basically torch Jerusalem. Once that happens, you gotta go IDF, please stop the carnage from you know, but the incendiary firestorm would have never happened had he followed the Constitution. There were people
Yeah.
in America, probably paid agitators, going out into Jewish neighborhoods claiming to be Black Lives Matters and assaulting Orthodox Jews, because American Jews and blacks are like thick as thick. We basically intertwined together politically because you got to join forces to fight to fight the Nazi element shits
Yeah,
that
no,
want to take.
it certainly makes sense. Yeah, so like I think malign groups are gonna want to align with each other, and I mean it totally makes sense, especially when there's like this extremely insidious sort of. I guess it's really what is it? It's hate stuff. I guess I don't know what else to call it.
It's Nazi bullshit. It's eugenics. It's basically all the World War II badness that people want to recycle. And they were rather successful in driving they want to drive a wedge between blacks and Jews. And it's back to the American Israeli, because this is all connected.
Oh, I know,
Political
like
split.
the political stuff is just it's one thing after, and like I mean, I personally think like my personal opinion doesn't matter worldwide, but I personally think a lot of this stuff is like these manufactured riffs, if you will,
Oh
where
yes.
like there's and I totally remember those things where they were evicting um I guess Palestinians from neighborhoods and trying to bulldoze them and rebuild new Jewish communities in Israel. I remember that. At least I think that's how I remember it. And it would
It
made the
was
news.
more
But
specifically that they were kicking people out of houses that they had lived in for 30 years. And
exactly,
see,
yeah.
like, I want Israel to control the land, but I also want the Palestinians the Palestinians who don't want to kill people and want to live their lives to have
Yeah, people who
dignity
just want to
and
like,
rights.
have
And
their life and their family there. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense to me that that what to me as an outsider and not a knowledgeable person, to me what I see is Western governments meddling in the affairs of this area and saying that one group of people who are just regular people that are like trying to raise their families and make their life for themselves, and another group of people who are exactly the same with maybe a different language, culture, religion, whatever you want to call it, that also live in the same area, are one of them's evil, one of them's awesome, and that one of them needs to be protected and one of them needs to be driven out. When what should
the
probably happen is like they should live in harmony somehow, and that apparently
yeah,
cannot happen. And I don't understand why, but I feel like
well,
that
it's
the lack of harmony is
there's
being engineered by outside.
well, there is that. Also, too, let me give you an idea of the drift of now. Obviously, Israeli government, go ahead, squish the skulls of Hamas, because Hamas, the only way you can negotiate with Hamas or Hezbollah or any of those people is to squish their skulls. They're a bit too far gone. And I'm not saying that Muslims are bad. I'm saying that these particular people who talk about how they have bomb factories to make vests for children to crawl under the wall to go ahead and do nasty things. If you're already that far gone that you're going to be strapping explosives to your children, there's no negotiations that can be done. Um,
Yeah, I guess
but
is that a common everyman sort of position
it's
though, or is that like just an
it
indoctrinated
it's
position for the
it's
yeah
not the common everyday man position. It's a I don't know the exact percentage of the population. I know it's sizable, but it's nowhere near a majority that have that mindset.
I
But
would hope so. I mean, like, I just can't imagine having that mindset, but I also can't imagine living in that type of strife either. That's
can
a
I
pretty
give you an
difficult thing to
idea
wrap your head
of
around.
the mindset that used to be? And then
Mhm.
American political forces advisors went into Israel to, quote, help. And American political advisors ruin other countries by pulling the same bullshit in other countries that they pull here. Now,
Yeah,
to give you an idea of what the attitude towards Israelis and Palestinians was when Golda Meir was in charge, they had the giant war. And then after Israel's victorious, she's crying in public. Why did you make us hurt your children? We don't want to do it. This is we want to live. Can we coexist? Kind of attitude. And my
yeah,
mom's parents, to give you an idea, there used to be a prophetic view of these things. My mom's parents asked me, why couldn't 200 million Arabs push a few million Jews into the sea? And I said, because the land belongs to us. And then they asked me a more provocative question. Why can't the IDF kick out at that time maybe a few thousand Palestinians from the land? And I said, I don't know. And they said
yeah,
because before they were Muslims, they were Christians, and before they were Christians, they were Jews. And it's like thousands of years of assimilation, this leader, that leader, the other. And keep in mind, these are Jews talking to me. I'm not trying to be insulting the Palestinians, but there is that familiar history between the
yeah.
peoples of the area. You have to acknowledge that. And they said, because one day, if you read in Ezekiel around the valley of the dry bones, there's a stick that is brought back together.
All right.
And I don't know
If
how that will be accomplished, but I was taught that you should exert no more cruelty than is necessary to provide for your safety. These are people too, and not
yeah,
all of them want to kill you. And a lot of people just want to live their lives. And
yeah, no, I
that
think
was
that's what we
a
should really be
common
pushing
view.
for. Yeah, we should be pushing for that kind of view. It's like it and maybe like try to get away from the idea that anyone should be trying to do anything cruel. I'd rather get away from that. I want to welcome PC. Pragmatic Crystal is here in the chat there. So I've managed to try getting another viewer. It's amazing. And yeah, I don't know if this whole peace in the Middle East thing is as
Oh,
what do you
it's
is
going
it
to
is it
be.
that much fun? It can be fun, but it really it's hard to make it fun. But it's important. It's important to understand what goes on around the world and I appreciate that you're talking about the fact that it's a complex thing and that the the idea like well I think like I mean I'm oversimplifying it but the idea like why can't we all just get along, this stuff just keeps getting harder and harder and then like just to bring it back to what you were saying before about like how people have different views in different places because of what they see. And I think that's maybe one of the biggest issues we have broadly, when you think about this whole thing is how is an issue presented to you? It doesn't matter what the issue is. This is like I said, an atomic potato here to hold on to. When you get into the idea of like these like millennia old fights over land in the Middle East, the politics, the culture wars, and all that stuff. But I think we talk about culture wars in North America as like
Oh,
a political
that's
disparity, right? Like it's almost a
horrible.
different thing, but it's all part of the same. It's all part of the same idea that the people they're in groups, right? There's these people and those people. Like it's us against them. Like that whole type of mentality, I think colors everything that goes on around us. And so using like this is something that I actually saw. I forget whose chat it was in. It wasn't that long ago. Somebody's chat had um, a conversation about just the idea of um, the Black Lives Matter movement in particular, but I think they were talking about Antifa and some other ones where there's a vilification going on of people that are on politically the left, I guess. And someone was, trying to turn it into a racial issue, which is fair. I think there is a racial um, there's a racial issue, and it's particularly strong between blacks and whites in the US, and it probably exists between blacks and whites in Canada, although I see it a lot less. I see a much stronger difficulty between other cultures. In where I live, it's more of a distrust of people from probably more from the Middle East, from India, from Sri Lanka, and I see like a I don't even distrust isn't the word. I think it's like an unsureness about people that are coming from another community, and then in other places you'll actually see quite a bit of you see quite a
America
bit.
is a cesspool of deep-seated bullshit. You have people who grew up
Oh, I'm
being
losing you,
told
Commander.
one thing.
Okay, just
Well,
start again, Commander, because like it got roboted. I don't know if that's on my end or yours, but yeah, it's just kind of falling apart, and my
you
stupid phone notifications keep going off here.
America has a long history of racial bullshit. And
Yeah.
Canada, or like give you an example of the difference between Canada and the United States regarding its native population. I'm not saying that it was perfect in Canada,
Oh, we're far
but
we're far from it.
there
Yeah.
was at the start of the colonization, there was a lot more intermarriage between natives and people who were British who later became Canada.
Oh,
And
Yeah. Welcome, Dr. Top.
you
there
had
we go.
and
All right.
there were also different well, to give you an idea, probably the best colony to be in if you were a Native American was Pennsylvania because the Quakers owned it. And the Quakers made the white people, if you wanted land that natives were on, guess what? You had to buy it. You couldn't coerce a sale, and you had to treat people with respect. You couldn't murder them just because their
Yeah.
skin color was a different than yours. And while all the other colonies were having Indian wars, Pennsylvania had relative peace. Fun thing when you're not trying to take people's stuff and you have to buy it, how peace can kind of exist.
Well, yeah, I think like respect is damn important, right? Like when like that's something that has been lacking. And now that Dr. Top's here, I know he's gonna help us. Why did I not turn your microphone on or do you have it
No,
off?
no, I muted it.
You muted. Okay, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So I
I'm
mean Dr. Top is probably gonna help us find a new topic altogether. And
That's good because
but I
this was a bit
because
heavy.
it's a bit heavy, but like I keep on getting heavy topics. And yesterday I kept on going into people's chats and getting wound up, especially when I was on Maya's channel watching her talk to. I've already forgotten the name of the person that she was talking to. She was talking to two people who I know from chats, but not. I didn't know their channel, but they were talking like abortion, women's rights, bodily autonomy, and just general healthcare rights and stuff like that. And this stuff gets me wound up. So I want to get wound down. I want to get wound down. I want to be a step down transformer.
I'm like cleaning my room and stuff, and
You're doing great. It looks 10 times cleaner than it did last night. Let me tell you.
And I'm going to probably have to get going because
Yeah, you need
I've
to go
got
get some sleep
people.
there, Commander.
Have a good
Get some
night,
rest.
everybody. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, good night, Commander. It's good to have you. Thank you for bringing your thoughts and your great insights on things. And another day we're gonna do we'll do some heavy, and some light. We got to put them all together. We got to make it dirigible. And
Well, we're good. I'm gonna have. You said like a dirigible of heavy and light. Well,
yeah.
tomorrow
Well,
at
the
3
skin,
p.m. I hope to have like a Led Zeppelin kind of heavy and light kind of thing on my channel, making fun of Jones and talking about the insidious nature of what he's doing with Sylvia. So
Well,
try to
absolutely.
blend the two.
If people can get to that, that would be awesome. I know it's a holiday here. I doubt that it's a holiday there. You guys have Columbus
Which
Day?
holiday is it?
It's Canadian Thanksgiving tomorrow. So we have not everyone has a day off, but I'm lucky to have the day off tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have a chance to watch that and see what you're saying, because I've seen you talk about him before, and you got some good takes.
And I will private message you the source video of his interview with Sylvia, and because it's really just batshit bonkers. And
Oh yeah,
if
absolutely.
anyone wants to be on the panel and I know you or I know your character, hit me up on Discord.
Okay, well,
Good night, everybody.
Obviously my character won't qualify. But good to see you, Commander. Thanks for stopping in and talking.
Well, your character does qualify. I just want to make sure that there's not going to be racism, simping for Russia. In other words, I don't want someone bombing my channel by doing a Hitler salute like I've seen with open panels before.
Yeah, there's and I've seen worse than that too. But yeah, no, absolutely.
Have a good night.
I think we have. Oh, here we have Tiny Captain saying good night, and good night, Commander. Thanks for coming in.
Night,
Dr. Tap. You've got PC saying hello to Carrie. We've got I don't know who else. Somebody was saying hello to you too. Where did that go? Here we go. Oh yeah, okay. Dr. T, Commander and Brainless. Well,
I might get yelled at by Maya because we still need to decide on a video for tonight.
Yeah,
and I'm also just like trying to do like 8 things.
Well,
currently I'm
tell Maya that you're doing something important here. Did you teabag your keyboard in there?
I spilled it. I spilled stuff on it, and
again, like a second time, or you're doing the thing you did yesterday?
I'm doing the thing that I didn't do yesterday.
You didn't. Okay, you're actually.
And then I didn't actually do it.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm cleaning it, which I think is what I told you I was doing. But
all right.
You know.
PC is AFK. Currently arguing in messages. What is Carrie doing? On a video sports segregation of men and women in sports. I mean, I don't know what that means, Carrie. But Carrie, you can come in. Did I give anybody a link? I mean, there's a link if people want a link. But Carrie, if you want to tell us more about that, that's good. But that doesn't sound like like a light, fluffy topic. I want to talk about something light and fluffy, like a neutrino. Well,
they're certainly light. I don't know if fluffy is a particularly good way of describing them.
Have you never hugged a neutrino?
Have I ever hugged a neutrino? They don't have arms or torsos. Or
that doesn't mean you can't get consent and give them a hug.
Neutrinos
are not people. Hey, Sumami, welcome.
They do not have the capacity to give consent, so yes, it does mean that.
Well, my biggest concern is that they just pass right through me, and then if enough of them went through me, that I would just die.
Well, yeah, I mean, if enough of them go through you, yeah, but you won't die because of the ones that pass right through you. You'll die because of the ones that don't pass right through you.
Well, that's the worst kind. That's the worst kind. And then the other thing I worry about.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
Photons are light, but they're neither fluffy nor do they like to be pinned down.
Yeah, I think probably the number of neutrinos that actually like interacts with some particle in your body during your lifetime, it's probably more than 0, but less than 10.
Okay.
It might be on average less than 1 now.
All right. Well,
But
you know what? I think we'll probably have to like get into the neutrino conversation in depth at a different time because I haven't been thinking about neutrinos this week.
I also don't know that much
enough.
about neutrinos. I know some interesting facts about them though.
We know what I think on this. Okay, Carrie, we know what you think about neutrinos. Carrie, this is not a light topic. There's not a single photon in women accusing you of hating women, trying to support the men. I think the problem with anything. Keep coming back to the.
I thought you cut out for a moment. Did you cut out? Oh, I might cut out.
What people don't understand, this is the important thing that I try to understand, is that there's a lot of nuance in these conversations, and there are certain things that might be better divided among gender or sex, but there's a lot of things that are probably better divided along other things. And I'm not the person to talk about this because I don't even have a similar body to other men. My body is not similar to most people's bodies, but I think like if Dr. Tapp and I were having a teeter-totter contest, despite the fact that we might be on the same league gender-wise or sex-wise, I would beat him unless the goal was to look like you're defying gravity. Because I outweigh Dr. Tapp by nearly a 2-to-1 ratio. But he out heights me by a far smaller ratio. So, but there's still a ratio. There's a spectrum. Not basing things on capabilities is foolish. Yes, no, I agree, Carrie. So see, I mean, like if Dr. Tapp and I went head to head on a Dr. Tapp, there's a major possibility. Thank you for muting, but Dr. Tapp, there's a major possibility. I hope you can hear this, that a flurf is going to think that you have actually brought outer space into your house, and that extreme low pressure system is now in your hand, and that you have a vacuum gun in your hand, and that it looks like a European one too. It's a little scary. It's an expensive European vacuum gun, and I'm afraid that you may totally disprove Einstein's theory of both special and general relativity with your vacuum gun. I gotta say that's quite the keyboard, too. By the way.
Yeah, I mean, fucking should be.
But yeah, so this is the lighter thing. So, so is that after the alcohol bath, or are you just getting it ready for the alcohol bath?
I'm getting it ready for the alcohol bath. It's right here. Pour alcohol on top of it.
This is. Did you steal that from the cafeteria at the university? That tray
No,
you got there.
This is like for boots.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
We have those at our house because we're Canadian, and boots are our whole lives here.
Yeah. It's actually, I was hoping it would be deeper because I wanted to like submerge it entirely, but I also don't have that much alcohol.
Holy shit, Dr. Tapp, I got a question for you.
Yeah?
I don't think you're going to answer it. I don't think you can answer it because I think this is not known because... Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is known. This is known. And Carrie, the answer is only since 2001. Because...
what was the question? I was not...
The question is, have the energy components of matter always existed? And that's a Larry the Cable Guy character, Toe Mater, from the Cars movies. I thought it was matter, but I misread it. It was mater. So the energy components of mater have only existed since he first came. No, mater was created by like John John something or other from Disney's animated car unit there.
Pixar,
I
yeah,
believe.
the Pixar.
Pixar, yes, Pixar. Pixar is it? Yeah, yeah. So Pixar is Pixar is our. That's where, yeah. So the Pixar universe created the Cars universe. Yeah, yeah. So Mater was created then. These rational, I think the universe has always been, just in different form. So yeah, no, Carrie, I think I'm assuming, I think your keyboard's probably doing what mine is in making matter into Mater. So yeah, no matter. This is a question I have. I was actually asking Dr. Tap this in a private discussion we were having and suggesting we talk about it. And I doubt that he knows all these answers, but he may have some good insights into what the current science is saying, because he's just a little bit more. What is it that you're more of than the rest of us? Is more knowledgeable, more or less ignorant?
I mean, on in the subject of
In the
physics,
sciences?
I'm more educated. I'm
Yes, you have a higher.
hopefully I'm more knowledgeable. But...
You have a higher dearth of ignorance than the average person. Hopefully,
it's one good way of putting it.
yes. Unlike Dearth, who has a higher level of ignorance than most. But you know, coherence is not for crackpots, right? If crackpots had coherence, yes, they would cohere.
Wouldn't be crackpots. They wouldn't be crackpots.
The Tri-Omni Weasel. Actually, Carrie, I recently discovered that that Dr. Tap here is actually, he's a pentaweasel.
I'm a pentaweasel. There's 5 of us.
He's a pentaweasel. It's kind of like he's kind of like the chocolate starfish of weasels. And hopefully he's suitably offended when he figures out what that means.
Is chocolate? Is that a sphincter joke?
Yes, of course it's a sphincter joke.
I've not actually heard that version of that joke before, so I'm a little bit.
You were caught off guard by the chocolate starfish, but you've heard of the barking spider, though, you know, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess you, like Patrick Starr, have been hiding under a rock and unaware of all the pentagonal jokes that there are out there. And
I mean, I clearly.
I am not going to use my son's computer to Google for finding out how many arms the sphincter has. If you were to like image it, I'm just going to assume they've been imaged. So
yeah, that's pretty
okay,
good
here's a good question. I mean, anyone that's been for a colon camera. What do they call it?
Colonoscopy.
A colonoscopy, yes, which is way better than a colostomy, or the bag that it goes into. But yeah, there's some pretty major imaging, and the autoclaves they have set up for them are just they look like a 1980s version of like what they thought the year 2000s like war room would look like, with all the like a bunch of like sort of blue shifted light just like bathing over a whole bunch of like large guns, just long skinny guns that are used for anal probing. We may be sharing that technology with some of the little gray people. And I sure as heck did go on somebody's stream where they were talking about little gray people. And, you know, I'm like, I don't even know if we know, like, do we have, other than Kate McKinnon's, you know, recollections, do we have any actual knowledge of what they look like? Is a question that I really have here. Now, let's see here. I think I gotta find something really dumb to talk about here. There we go. Let's see what comes up here. Yeah, I think this is good. No, this is really weird. This has got to be like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. We go back one. Here we go. All right. Yeah, okay, here we go. All right, what happens when I do this? Here we go. Add to stage. Okay, here we go. I have these alien images. So like I think like we have some interesting ones here, right? Like, but have you ever heard the idea that like we don't even know what alien life is going to look like?
Yes.
Israel declaring war is not a lighthearted topic. Carrie, what are you talking about? War in the Middle East is like, you know, it's kind of like just it's what you talk about over orange juice and champagne and, you know, a Sunday morning, just, you know, a lighthearted little breezy conversation about long-term wars, the taking away of land from people, all that kind of shit. I think that's all, you know, super fucking lighthearted. Unless, you know, what is wrong?
No, there was water underneath it. There was water underneath I have two of those trays, and the other one in my kitchen had water underneath it and on my hardwood floor, and I don't know how long that's been there, so I don't know if I've damaged my hardwood floor now.
It depends on how well it was sealed. Is it cloudy? Is it cloudy under there?
Now, but it always looks like that when you leave water a little bit too long.
It does, yeah. So
it might not stay cloudy. I hope it will not.
It might not. It might not. I hope not too. Dr. Top, we're not going to pray for your floor because there's nothing we can do. Yeah. No, Carrie, we're not gonna talk about Israel anymore today. We already Commander has a great you just found it last night. See, here's the thing, Carrie. I don't actually listen to the news anymore. I have a news embargo in my life. And Dr. Top turned that off so we don't, like, depending on how much like a girl he screams, we'd know how badly damaged the wood floor is. And even though that's politically incorrect to say, I feel like it's the right thing to say and the right way to say it. So yeah, so Carrie, I do not pay any attention. Holy crap, what was that?
The reason I muted. It's my air compressor.
You got like a fan going? Oh,
okay. It's my air compressor that I'm going to use to blow dry after.
Okay, good plan. Good plan. So you're letting the air build up in the compressor. Compressed air is a really interesting physics topic. Yeah, so Carrie, I don't pay attention to the news. It stresses me out. It bothers me. And every time I hear about it, it gets me all wound up. And then people see me chatting in people's side chats and they see that I'm losing my goddamn mind. Yeah. Watch to see if he isn't playing again. Yes, Carrie, you know what? When your family's in the military, the goings on are going to keep you on the edge of your seat. And I wish you and your family very well in that. And I hope that your son doesn't have to go back to active duty right away. You know, I realize that it's part of the job, but it's, you know, I have a great deal of respect for people that dedicate their lives to serving in the military. But I also feel like the people that make the decisions about what wars to fight should have a little bit more on the fucking line themselves than other people's lives, other people's sons' lives, daughters' lives, you name it. But that's also not a light, breezy topic for my 25 sub stream. But then I did pull up war subs as my first imaging. And you know, it just didn't go anywhere. But here we go. I think I've got an example of a banner. I'm going to create a banner. And I'm going to scroll across the bottom. And I'm going to go, here we go. I got to come up with something good to say here. I hope somebody can help me think of something really fun to say.
I do have opinions about compressed air.
Yeah, you know what? I want to know about that. Here we go. Here we go. Is it good? Is this the ticker? I guess if I click show. Here we go. All right, so 20 subs. Yeah, so I can't put that one back up. I already did that. And I don't know how many subs I have now. It was 28 at one point today, I heard. And I can and I can put this up here, 25 plus. People will think people think that's an age limit. It's not. I mean, you can chat here as long as you're not super young, I guess. Okay, now I'll go to example banners. I don't need that 4 banners. See what I went away from the chat and the comments. Okay, here we go. It's officially 29 at the moment. My goodness, Victoria, welcome. Yes, I don't see. The thing is, when I read that, Victoria, I think, you're letting me know that I'm Victoria, and I'm like, I don't think I am. Victoria was Victor's daughter on The Young and the Restless back in the 90s, and she probably still is. Probably nobody has aged. Like I believe in the last 30 years, probably 3 weeks of Young and the Restless has progressed. Because I think The Young and the Restless progresses at, I think it's at 1/1,000,000th the speed of an NFL game, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe somebody who's aware.
I thought those shows did like go at like normal time, and because
I mean, can go all over the place.
Okay, because I know like how long has The Young and the Restless been going?
I believe it started just before the First World War, and they've now made it to the Korean War since then.
Okay,
but I'm not 100% sure.
No, but I mean, like, when did it start on TV? 1973.
I've got no freaking. Yeah, the 70s is what I was going to guess.
That was later than I thought, actually.
There's some others that started before on television. Like there was some, like I know, like Coronation Street has been around for like a gazillion years. Like a gazillion. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, what's the longest time somebody has like acted on one of these?
I'm not sure if that's the word you'd want to use because that would be 0. But
rough. Ouch. Shots fired.
Days of our lives. I'm sorry. Sorry. No, that's not.
We got Al Trucker here, just completely bad mouthing the acting.
I'm sorry
chops.
if you're. I'm sorry if you're a soap opera actor, and you feel that I've been unkind to your thespian skills. Come on Al Trucker's show and tell me what you think. You're welcome anytime. I mean, the woman who was on. I don't want to start talking about this because it'll take me into like a less than light and airy subject. Oh my God. I'm now down to 23. Holy crap. I lost subscribers. Well, Victoria, I guess, it was only going to last so long. All right. Sorry, Dr. Top. I'm down to 23. So we got to wait to build up to 25 again. Dark Shadows is hilarious. There was a soap opera on when I was a teenager that I thought was hilarious called Swan's Crossing, and it was a teen soap opera, but it was done like a soap opera. Don't mind Dr. Tap; he's just polishing his keys. Yeah, Dark Shadows. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Yeah, compressed air is amazing. So. I'm sure Dr. Top will regale us with tales of holy shit. I love the way he's slapping that keyboard against his, I think it's his pillow. It's pretty fucked up, man. No, Victoria, I will talk about things that begin with star. The first, hold on, Victoria, I'm going to come back to that because my tangerines are under gravitational influence. As I told Dr. Tap last night, he's like, he's aware. He knows, Dr. Tap knows in the back of his mind the gravitational pull of the tangerine that I'm going to go on with your recommendation on what to talk about. So compressed fluids is something I definitely want to talk about because that's something that flirts don't get. And anytime I get a chance to seem like I'm smarter than a flurf, I just love to take it. And this is all right. So I just got a lovely, Dr. Tap is obviously going to do something crazy with the compressed fluids there. So he's turned off his camera. I don't blame him. So yeah, so there Star Wars and Star Trek were both things that were pretty popular when I was young. But there's another star that I think a lot of people probably don't know about. Star Search. That was one of the greatest shows. And I'm pretty sure Ed McMahon was on that. And Star Search was, it was messed up. But you know what? Back then, we only got 3 channels. And so you were either going to watch that or a couple of other things. And when Ed McMahon came on and brought on these kids, and it was mostly kids, it was very seldom somebody that actually was old, because it was like Star Search was like, I don't think it was the original, but Star Search was definitely part of this thing. I will talk about Buck Rogers. He was in the 25th century. I'm talking about the 20th century. You're 5 centuries ahead of me here. So, but that show, Buck Rogers, did predate Star Wars, did not predate Star Trek, from what I remember. But now I have to look up Buck Rogers to see, like, was Buck Rogers actually like maybe it was like in lockstep with Star Wars? I'm not sure. I'm trying to figure this out. But Star Search was like, Ed McMahon would come on and they get like some like 7-year-old girl to sing like nobody's business. And, I'm pretty sure America's Got, yes, that's right, Carrie. It was America's Got Talent of the 80s. And somebody who's like got better Goofoo than I have could probably look this up. But I am 99% sure that Justin Timberlake is he was on Star Search. Like, that's how he got his start. I'm pretty sure he was like 5 years old. What was he from? Timberwater? I don't know. Anyway, Dr. Tap, you're still muted if you're talking, but I can't really tell.
I had to turn on my compressor again.
Oh, the compressor. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me guess, you're using a pancake compressor that you bought at Home Depot for $129.99. Solid gold PC, you're right. Yeah, do you remember solid gold dancers?
I'm buying something not that good that I got for $69.99. Nice. From McMaster, I think. Not McMaster.
Harbor Freight.
Harbor Freight, yeah. McMaster is the place we order from at work. I don't know if they have stores.
Yeah, I don't know if they do either. I've never been in a Harbor Freight, but I keep thinking I want to go to one. And every time we go to the States and we're shopping, my wife's like, do you really want to waste your shopping time on that? And I'm like, no, I don't. We have garbage. I can buy tools at the dollar store at home.
Yeah, exactly.
I can break them in the first 5 minutes there, and then it's easier to go back and get them. Yeah. Solid gold and the solid gold dancers, and then there was there were so many like talent shows on. And people think America's Got Talent was like some great thing, but like these shows, like Lawrence Welk would have people on. Man, that guy was something else. But Lawrence Welk would have people come on, and he was like, I think he thought he was a conductor or something. He was like, that guy would conduct like a girl tap dancing or whatever. Like, he was an interesting character. But yes, you got your Lawrence Welk. You got man, how did Buck Rogers get us to Lawrence Welk? Drew Carey got his break on Star Search. That doesn't surprise me either. And Drew Carey had like this show with these like improv guys on it, and like Oh man, all those guys are hilarious, and two of them were Canadian. But we also got to find out the Cleveland Rocks and that you could live in sin with a safety pin, which I always thought was really cool. I always of all the sitcoms that took place in Ohio, and my top 3 Ohio-based sitcoms are Third Rock from the Sun, Drew Carey's show, and WKRP in Cincinnati. And only one of them, as far as I can remember, involved thinking that turkeys could fly. And in his defense, I gotta say that Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake, were they not both like on the same show together too, like together at the same time? I don't remember. Maybe it was in Beyonce.
They were on
Beyonce or Beyonce?
I think Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears were both on like the Mickey Mouse Club or something. I don't know what that is though. So
oh yeah, the one with the net funny Funicello.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know you're not that old. I don't know if anybody's as old as I am to remember the Mickey Mouse Club, in its original run with let's see who was on that. The Musketeers, yes, the Disney Musketeers, which is different than the Mickey Mouse Club, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I just thought we bought my kids those funny little hats when we went to Disney World in Florida. It was kind of fun. We had a lot of fun down there. I think we took the kids like at exactly the right time for them to like really appreciate it, because my daughter was totally into princesses and my son was totally into cars. So like I don't think we could have hit it any better. And they had just bought the Star Wars stuff, and yeah, Annette Funicello, who I actually probably know her better as like people making reference to her, but Annette was also with Frankie Avalon. They did some really weird shows in the 60s. And I was actually thinking about this. This is so weird, Dr. Tap, because you and I were talking about bingo last night, because don't tell anybody, this is top secret that Dr. Tap is in the middle of a top secret plan to invent a brand new web-based game that may revolutionize the entire world, and he's thinking of calling it Bingo. Anyway, yeah, Beach Blanket Bingo. Yeah, that was such a weird movie, and I remember seeing that movie when I was like, I'm pretty sure it was on. So we had there was a channel that we got on live air, that played older movies during the midday during weekdays, and I think I saw it when I was like homesick one day. So the over-the-air shows we get out of like the US are usually out of Buffalo, and more infrequently, but sometimes we'd get shows out of like Michigan, but usually it was Buffalo was the closest place to get them from. And with the curvature of the earth, it's easier to get them from a close place than a far one. Oh, but the first, did you fix
it? News. I said fake news.
Fake news. Oh, fake news. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying good news. I thought that you'd managed to stick the F10 key back on.
I think I've got to wait a little bit longer before I plug it back in, because I would imagine that there's still moisture inside the switches. Yeah.
Moisture and electronics for some reason don't go well. I think it has to do with dead shorts to ground, but that's just my opinion.
It's not the moisture that's a problem. It's the fact that you typically are going to have moisture creates a conductive path most of the time. Most of the time, but not always.
That's like which will short things out. It doesn't. No. But so Dr. Tap, let's get into something super light and fluffy. Buck Rogers, I don't even think knew about this in 500 years from now. But this is a cool thing. Actually, sorry, I guess it was only like, hold on. I think it was only 350 years from now. But anyway, Buck Rogers, when Buck Rogers comes with his like, I mean, Buck Rogers made it look like the wheel had gone backwards, just 30, 40 years ago. But Buck Rogers was hilarious, and I loved it. And there's nothing I like better than a space opera or a space show or anything sci-fi that makes it look like really dark purple or brown velour is going to make a comeback in like a bodysuit type way. That is my very favorite type of fashion. And so for that reason, I'm just a big fan of Lost in Space, and I'm a big fan of Reservoir Dogs, because Reservoir Dogs also involves, for no reason whatsoever, velour bodysuits or tracksuits or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was watching this interesting video, and this is one that I think is real physics and not. I don't think this is Flirt physics. Flirt physics is spelled F-I-Z-Z, and regular physics is spelled PH for piled high, like Ken says. The Hawk people in Buck Rogers. I think those people gave me nightmares, Carrie. I'm not sure. And then I know this would predate Dr. Taps, like probably his what he would have watched on television. But when I was a very young kid, so not like a toddler, but probably I'm thinking 9, 10, there was a thing called Captain Power, and I actually had a couple of planes or spaceships that you could shoot a TV with, and the CRT TV would shoot. It could read signals from the CRT, so that was pretty cool. But this tangerine is bringing me back around to the most important thing about all of this stuff is the idea that electricity, when you're taught about electricity in early physics, they talk about electricity flowing, current of electricity flowing the way water flows through a pipe. And the way water flow through a pipe, we won't get into Bernoulli and stuff like that, but just a straight, even diametered pipe, is that the water that pushes in from one side comes out the other side. And electricity apparently doesn't flow through a pipe. The energy gets passed through the electrons on the outside of the pipe. And the thing that I found interesting about this video I was watching, and I should have sent this to Dr. Tapp so he could vet this as a real thing, but apparently electricity travels faster than we think it should if it's in a properly prepared conductor. And the way they found out about this is when they started laying cables to do signal transmission over the Atlantic, and they wrapped it in a certain type of insulation they thought was going to do a certain thing, and it fucked everything up, and they had to start again because they thought the signal would travel inside, and it actually they had wrapped it up in a type of insulation that fucked it up.
Mm.
And yeah, I think electricity is interesting that way. So Dr. Tapp, you'd say something far more intelligent than that bullshit.
So it is true that in certain cases the current and stuff will mostly flow on the surface of your conductor. As your frequency gets higher and higher and higher, this becomes more and more and more true. DC, direct current, signals don't do that as much. I think those you do sort of flow through the cross section of the wire. But when you're getting up to really, really high frequencies, you do get this effect. And I can't think of a really good intuitive way of explaining it. I feel like I used to know one though, of why that would be the case.
Okay.
But so it is the case that I can imagine a coating messing that up somehow, but generally I'm not familiar with what you've described.
No, I'm gonna have to find that video and send it to you, because the guy that sent it, or the guy sent it, there wasn't any sending. The guy that did the video, I'm just gonna see if it comes up as just because I've seen it, how electricity actually works. Big misconception. This is it here. Okay. Do you remember when you and I were talking about the speed of light and measuring it as a one-way speed as opposed to a two-way speed?
Yeah, and how that's impossible.
Yeah. And I told you how it is possible, and you said I was clever, but I also
It's clever. I don't.
wrong. It's also wrong.
It must be wrong, but I don't know exactly how it's wrong, other than it's probably wrong in the same way that they're kind of always wrong, in that you're smuggling in an assumption somewhere. But your idea of having it all still be sort of local is it is clever.
I'm just going to tell everybody what my clever idea was. Carrie, thank you so much for coming, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the fact that you were the top participant in my 20 subscribers stream. Not the only one, but very nearly the only one, and I had a great conversation with you that time. And one day we're going to talk you into coming on here and talking to us. So I bet it has. Well, you got a lot going on there. I mean, you've had the invasion of one country by another and all that kind of stuff. So Carrie, thank you so much. And yeah, life is busy. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, I can't believe I made it to I just looked, it's 29. So Dr. Tab, I'm going to send you this thing. I'm going to send you this thing in like at another time, because I think like it's not like we could watch the video and go through the whole thing. But so I'm just going to tell people what I thought, and then I mean, you can tell me that it's wrong. I think we know intuitively that it's wrong, because like there's no way a truck driver from Ontario figured it out if the best minds in the world are working on it, because I think that's just intuitively we know that. And lots of people thought of it a lot harder than I have. But like all the examples I had of people explaining to me what they would do in the few videos I've watched, and one video actually ran through, like, I think the guy basically like knocked out. In fact, I'm 99% sure it was a girl doing this, but I think I've watched ones by both. But the girl, I think it was the girl who actually listed off like, maybe 15 different scenarios that people have thought of and said, okay, like this. And I think she showed us how you would first come up with the concept of measuring light, and that you would like two-way would be the easiest way to do, because you could do it over a long distance and you could have these two clocks and whatever. And that the first times it was done, they did it by like cycling I want to say like a toothed wheel, like something like a gear, and they used that to set up this thing. Put a limit on the one-way speed of light differential with Cherenkov radiation. I don't know, Victoria, because I don't know what Cherenkov radiation is. Dr. Tapp can tell us. But before he does that, I should say this is my solution. My solution is, and I was ridiculous with my distance, but all the things I had involved either you use cameras that are collecting light. And so like if you did it one way and you used a camera to like capture what was happening, that the light traveling to the camera is a second direction of the light, so that rules that out. And that if you had two clocks, the distance between the clocks would necessitate, because of relativity, would necessitate a difference in the two clocks, even if they moved a very small distance. And so what I said is, you get one clock, and whatever the size of the clock is, you take your clock, like let's just say, because Dr. Tapp just threw like a keyboard across the room there, the clock is the size of the keyboard, right? So the size of the keyboard, and then so the entire clock mechanism is one single clock. It's not affected by relativity, because there isn't like one side of the clock, and then this would be a super weird thing to get into, is one side of the clock traveling at a different speed than the other, because they're in different parts of space or space-time relative to each other. And so that like when the minute hand is on the east side of the clock, that it's different than when it's on the west side of the clock. You get into that, but let's assume that the single clock is a single clock, and that you probably use an atomic clock or something like that to get super precise, and you'd keep it in one spot. And so what you do is you measure the speed of light across the clock, not across a distance, and not using two clocks. And so what I said is, like, what you do is you'd start your light. So you'd want to measure a single photon, so that you know that it's not like doing other shit or bouncing around or whatever. You'd measure a single photon traveling across the Planck length, and you'd get that clock to measure that speed from the beginning of the Planck length to the end of the Planck length. And a single photon traveling that distance, you'd know you were measuring one-way speed of light across that one clock device. Now, I don't think we have the actual technology to do this, but if you did it at like an extremely high level of precision over that very short distance, you'd know that it wasn't traveling two ways. You would just measure it from start to finish. That was what I came up with roughly. But I think I wrote it out at the time, and I think I did a better job writing it out, and I didn't read it back. So that was just me remembering what I said to you at the time, and your response was just clever, ha. And obviously that's not right.
Well, because you're still going to have this travel time problem, because your clock, if it's spatially extended, you're still going to need to report from one side to there's some part in it that like logs the data or something, and you still need to have a signal propagate to that point.
So if it knocks a switch, like let's just say there's two dominoes in the clock. I'm calling them dominoes just to explain what they are, right? So the one photon knocks over domino 1, starting the measurement, and knocks over domino 2, finishing the measurement. And they're on the same clock.
Say it again.
So there's two, I'm calling them dominoes.
Yeah,
so like you have these two things, right? So the distance between my fingers is the Planck length. But I'm just the length is arbitrary. I said Planck length because it's ridiculous, right? It won't be the Planck length, right? But you have this and the clock is my head. They're separated in space, but assume they're on one place because assume it's a 2D image here, right? So the photon comes and hits this one, and then after it hits this one, it then hits this one. These two things are hooked up to the clock in one thing, but they're hooked. The clock measures the fall of the time from the fall of the first domino to the second domino. They're both knocked over by the same single photon, and
you still get
that. So the problem is that there's a measurement of the signal from the dominoes not falling over, right? Like, and not the time that it takes them to fall over, but like assuming they instantaneously trigger something. The fact that the trigger has to be measured by something. There has to be something that passes the signal from the trigger of A and B, domino A and domino B, that there's no way to get rid of the fact that there's a travel time there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Also,
but if you could have them not do that,
well, then you could measure the one speed of light. I was going to say that a Planck length is just how far light travels in a Planck time.
Yes.
So you're not going to be able to. I mean, there might not be things smaller than that. Also,
that's my understanding is that so, and this is interesting because I don't know if you saw this woman talk to. I can't remember if you said if you're a fan of MC Toon. Do you watch that dude?
Not like a lot, but I'm yeah.
You're aware that he exists, right? So he had a woman on who's so he's had this woman from somewhere I think she's from somewhere in the southern states, and she's quite certain that she's right. The K time be different times of the day. Okay, Victoria's saying these interesting things. I'm putting them up here. You can read the chat? I'm assuming. I'm putting them up for people watching in the future that are wondering what the hell I'm talking about. I'm assuming the chat goes with it or whatever, but if speed of light were different in different directions, decay time would be different at different times of the day.
Decay time of what?
Well, to see, okay, electrons moving faster than the speed of light in a crystal. The rings depend on the velocity of light. You can have back-to-back rings of particle decays in the crystal. Okay, so if a particle decays in the crystal, so Victoria, can you just clarify that you mean like radioactive decay, like the decay of a particle? Are we talking about like radioactive?
I think it's all one. I think it's all one thought. I think it's all one thought. So the limit using the one-way speed of light differential with Cherenkov radiation, and then electrons moving faster than the speed of light in then they'll the group velocity of light. That's so light travels slower inside a crystal than it does, in a vacuum, and so you can have an electron. You can have an electron move faster than light inside of a crystal, because the light's sort of getting slowed down by the fact it has to interact with all the stuff. The speed of light were different in different directions. The decay time would be different at different times. Oh, right, I skipped that. The rings depend on the velocity of light. Yes, but do they depend on the one-way velocity though? They do according to the models that we always use, but the thing about those models is that those models assume a synchronization convention, which is what defines the one-way speed of light, but you could choose a different convention. It's the thing is, I'm not aware of a, and it would genuinely really surprise me, because I think it's been mathematically demonstrated to like not be possible, of a local experiment that you can do to measure it. If you actually go through and you work out all the things and you start from like the correct starting point, you end up getting the same of observational predictions. It's not. It's like somebody coming up with a very, very fancy idea for how to build a perpetual motion machine. Just because I can't think of why it might be wrong, I know that it's wrong because you can prove it's wrong categorically. And
it violates the laws of physics, and so it can't be true.
Yeah, and so you can have theories that have a different speed of light, one-way speed of light, and they always end up predicting sort of, well, not all of them, but all of the ones. We've never seen any evidence in special relativity. The speed of light can be different in two directions, sort of ish. You can reformulate special relativity with an appropriate depth. The math all gets kind of annoying and hard until you get to the end, and it all sort of cancels out, and you get the same answers. And it tells you sort of something
like where
that
E equals mc squared and C is a constant. Like C is a constant, doesn't change as long as we're talking about it in a vacuum.
Yeah, and that the C that become, yeah, I don't even know how those sort of. It's a very subtle.
Like if we looked at the derivations, we'd be going through page after page after page of working through the math to get to that relatively simple equation that everybody learns in grade school.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it still takes like 3 pages of math to get there.
Yeah,
but 3 pages of math is not a lot of math.
I guess it's not. It seems like a lot for me right now doing my light, fluffy, huggable stream here. But I'm starting to think maybe I should start a business of okay. Sorry, just to my wife is going to the drugstore and texting me that she's leaving me with one child and taking the other with her, and I'm telling her that's cool and she can check for something at the store, because this is the type of thing that progresses the physics conversation.
Yeah, I'm interested to know in exactly what experiment with B mesons at Slack your Victoria is referring to.
Well, maybe Victoria will expound on that a little bit, or what do I need to get a link from you or Victoria? I have to make them a mod or something, right? Is that what I gotta do? I don't know how to do that. Put user and time it. That would not help. Are you trying to look it up there, Dr. Tab?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you're doing that. I'm gonna do something super weird here, right? So I just like just looking for something fun to share on the screen. All right. Is this working? This isn't what I wanted. Come on. I want this. Where'd that image go? That here we go. Now is it up here? No. There we go. Does this work? There we go. Okay. 1.150. Okay. Okay. Have I still got everything working okay? Okay. All right. I don't know why I'm sharing this thing about the moon and the earth, but actually that reminds me of a thing I saw on Friday morning that I was going to bring up that would totally blow a Flurf's fucking mind.
What blew your mind?
Oh, I saw something that would blow a Flurf's mind on Friday morning. I was at work, and I had like this job to do. Yes, particle decay. It was the Babar experiment, like which is about I always got confused between Babar and Barber Papa, but there's about lots of particle detectors used, shrink covering detectors. Okay, boy, you look at that. I'm gonna get out the paper. I'm gonna get out the paper here because I know Dr. Tap loves this shit here. Is this a pencil? This is a pen. Thing you need to use is a marker, right? If I flip this paper over. Here, I've got something. I purposely made sure I didn't understand this ahead of time. I hope everybody can see this. I'm changing topics, but only ever so slightly. So here's a big brown sun. Is that visible?
It
would make sense for me to stop.
I can't see
this, right?
Yeah.
Wait a second. I want to go to being like this, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I see.
Okay.
I see a little.
That's a big brown sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then this is the planet Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then this is the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on Friday, I was here on the Earth. Did that mark come up? Oh, here we go. I'm just going to connect this, and then this is me. I'm not that skinny in real life. I'm as a people living with obesity advocate. You know that I'm not that small, but this is just for fun. The E plus E collider mass flow. I think we're gonna look at this. I'm hiding that just to this. Okay, so you know how sometimes the flare will say like you can't see the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time, but see, I was standing here. Yeah. I was looking up at the moon, and what I noticed that was weird about the moon. I'm gonna draw another picture. So the moon, to me, I'm drawing a bigger Earth. The moon to me, and I was here
I
like this.
can't.
So I can. Can you see that
You need to
now?
move it up. You need to move it up. Yeah, there we go.
Like this way? Okay. Okay, so I'm standing here on planet Earth, right? And I'm
Mhm.
looking up and I'm like seeing the shadow here. And and obviously like the Earth isn't in front of the moon at all. And the sun is still like way over here, right? And
Mhm.
see, I think a flurfer would be like totally freaked out by the fact that the angle that the moon was getting the sun from was like different than the angle that they would have thought maybe they were getting the sun from, because like I think like flurfers would probably think like, like that it's like this. If they like their misunderstanding of what the ball would require, like I don't think they'd get that the sun like the earth was maybe at that
Yeah.
same time getting
Yeah.
like the
Yeah. They
shadow of the
don't.
earth was
Yeah.
also
Completely.
like at that angle, and that
Mhm.
this distance is so small, relatively speaking, to this, and this isn't even like close to scale, but like this distance from here to here is so huge compared to this, that that the sun is shining on both of these angle.
Yeah. I think you cut out for a moment there. Mhm. I know.
Am I still here?
Yeah. Sorry.
Or did I
One of us dropped. One of us dropped for a moment. I don't know which one.
Okay, I don't know either. It just it looks like I have full signal, but it totally went crazy for a second there.
By the way,
And so anyway,
I'm
yeah,
gonna have to take off in a few minutes.
that's fine. You
So
should do that.
like
So
5 minutes.
let's
Okay.
look at Victoria's like great question here. They have sent us something interesting to think about here. And I should probably stop doing this at some point soon too, because you know I can't carry this on
Yeah.
my own.
I
Domestic
Yeah, Victoria. I don't disagree. They're a very I mean they're yeah. Chenkov radiation is fantastic to use as a detector, but it doesn't prove a one-way speed of light. If you actually go through and you think about, okay, what if the speed of light were two-way, and you follow it all through its conclusion, you're going to notice that, yeah, when things are going in one way, you sort of have things happen sort of really asynchronously, it seems, compared to what we observe. We're also interpreting through the measurement process. So there's the phenomenon, and then there's also the measurement of the phenomenon. And if things are going fast this way, they have to be going or instant this way, then they have to go at c/2 on the way back. And it turns out that it all cancels out, and you end up seeing exactly the same thing. It's very strange. There's no reason to not use a one-way speed of light convention. I mean, to not use an isotropic speed of light. There's no reason not to, that I'm aware of. It's
Yeah, we did
obvious.
like it's kind of like I don't want to say it's a thought experiment, but it's a recognition that our technology as it sits right now and everything we've thought of so far doesn't eliminate this problem, that you cannot know for certain that
it can't. It's sort of more fundamental. You cannot come up with a way of defining a one-way speed of light. It is a concept which does not have a well-defined. There's no way to define it methodologically. You can define it metaphysically, but to define it methodologically, it you if you you can't define it. It doesn't work, because in order to do it, you need to know the time here. You need to know the time here. You have a signal that's going from A to B, and you need to know that distance. You need to know, and you need to know the time elapsed between when it started and when it arrived. And there's not a way of doing that doesn't rely on some convention that you're going to choose for synchronizing your clocks. And
as soon as you relay the information, you've now made it a two-way problem. Like you can't get away from the fact that as soon as you measure, record, and relay the information, that you've then made it a two-way thing. At the very least, it's a two-way thing. And in fact, you could introduce more than two components. But the second one, as soon as you measure and record it, you have now that second element is there, because the thing that recorded it is that second element. So like my domino version, right, is because it has to knock the domino down, and the domino has to record its like the first and second domino is being knocked over by the same single photon over a very short distance. It doesn't matter how short the distance are, that the clock measures them in the same location or so close to the same location. The fact that anything else happened to take the measurement, that a trigger was used, the trigger itself is the second
yeah. Or if you're not going to have the time sort of be like elapsed, then you need to have the clock synchronized from the beginning. And then your challenge is to synchronize your clocks in a way where you're not using any you're not defining it. You're not sort of defining your answer, and you're going to choose some convention, and that convention is going to give you some result. You could choose a different convention, and then you would measure something different, but that's because you sort of baked in the convention from the beginning. You can reformulate a theory like special relativity, where light goes twice as fast in one direction and the appropriate amount slower in the other, or something.
Yeah, like at a fraction. And I know you've got to get going, but like the person who did the interesting video suggested that, like, you would not know whether, like, if the speed of light, the two-way speed of light is 100% of the thing, you don't know that it isn't 100% in one direction and zero, like it actually is instant, like literally instantaneous going the other way. And you don't also know that it isn't 50-50 or that it isn't 75-25 or anything else. Like you cannot know with absolute certainty that you've eliminated all those possibilities. But like you said, there's no reason not to use C as a constant.
Yeah, until we do come
one
up
direction
with a theory.
for the reason, like there's no mathematical disadvantage to assuming the constant is the constant that's been measured, even though it can't be measured with anything less than a two-way scenario, right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it is in principle impossible. I'm saying that the theories that we have, that we accept, are mathematically identical to the observations that we have are identical to if you modify the theory to incorporate a two-way speed of light. You can write down a completely comprehensible theory that involves an anisotropic light thing. It just everything becomes a little bit weird and wonky. Your clocks are not synchronized in the way that you think they are. It's a very fundamental. The problem is not even about, like, can we figure out how to do it? The problem is, can you even define what it means for a one-way speed of light? And you can't get there without defining a method of synchronizing clocks. And once you have your method of synchronizing clocks, that's the ball game, kind of.
Why would I want this up here? That is awesome.
No idea.
I'm terrible at doing this. I thought I'd change the ticker from 25 plus to this light thing. So I want to talk about one more thing quickly before you go, and
Sure.
this will take us down. This will take us down to, I don't know if I'll keep talking after this, but this is something. So I remember I was talking about MC Tunes. He had this woman on who she said that they're talking mathematically. Is there a point at which, if you keep on dividing something in two, that you actually reach zero, right? So this is the thing that I found interesting is she said, no, there's a point at which like you can just no longer can divide by half again. So my thought is like, mathematically speaking, so we talk about like something that's the Planck length, that's the smallest something can be in the universe. That's a concept of like a physical limitation. But mathematically, there's no reason you could not take a Planck length, cut it in half, have two half Planck lengths, and then take those and cut them into quarters, etc., etc. Like mathematically, there's no reason to stop dividing. The smallest thing you've ever had can still be even more infinitesimally cut in half, mathematically speaking. Like you can keep heading towards an infinity of halves of small things. To me, that's the intuitive notion, mathematically speaking. Not that it's impossible to reach a point at which something can physically no longer be divided. Like we used to think that was the atom, and then we've had these other subatomic particles and stuff. And I know you're not a particle physicist, you're an atomic physicist, so I want to get you out of your element, literally, and into the smaller things. But what I'm wondering is Zenu's paradox. So that it sounds like Victoria knows about something I don't know about, but I thought Xenu was like the god of Scientology, but I could be confused.
Zeno's paradox.
Xenu, okay. But yeah, so Victoria's obviously smarter and more knowledgeable than I am about so many things because Victoria has brought up clocks. I'm calling them a she. I have no idea if they're he or she, because their first name is you and their last name is Victoria. Maybe if matter is moving faster in one direction. So Victoria keeps talking about the movement of matter at a speed, which is interesting because I've been talking about photons, and I think you have too, but perhaps that should be yes, SP and O. I'm not sure what that, I don't know what that means. Dr. Top, you're gonna have to translate. Move on to the paradox. That's cool. Okay. Okay. You have to translate what SB and O is. SB and O is going back to the conversation about like the measuring the speed of light, I think. But I find it really interesting that I understand totally that there could be a physical limitation of what you can tear down. Because like at a certain point, if you tore my truck down, like there'd be the smallest screw that holds on the smallest piece of the dashboard, and there would be the one like the springs that are in like the valves and lifters and stuff, but like there also are smaller pieces to that depending on how you move through it. But mathematically, why is there a limitation to, like, every time I cut something in half, why is there ever an end to the infinity of cutting it in half? There isn't. It's an infinite.
There isn't in typical mathematical systems.
Yeah.
You can choose different axioms than we normally use, and you can get all sorts of weird things. You can have theories where infinitesimals are well-defined quantities.
Okay.
And exist in sort of a way that is interesting and unique and special. I don't know anything about these, but so this definition might just be wrong. But I think that there are theories in which you can define like an infinitesimal as being smaller than any finite number, but it's not zero. Okay. And when you add, I don't know how it all works out, but you can sort of massage things, and you can define number systems where you only have two numbers, like 0 and 1. And I'm not talking about binary. I'm talking about like a modulo 2, system that just wraps back on itself.
Okay.
And so math, you can define all sorts of weird things. So there might be a lot of a lot of sort of versions of geometry or something where there is a kind of minimum distance that you couldn't define anymore. But
yeah. No, I'm not mathematically sophisticated enough to know about things like that. I'd like to look at it again. I find like, you know, my life course took me in a different direction, I guess. And this is why I want to make sure I don't end up being that cracked pot that has no coherence. I want to be, you know, I've talked to you about the idea of like, I want to find adhesive that actually allows me to become knowledgeable enough about something to have a conversation that isn't really stupid. Because I think I've had enough experiences in my life to know, like, to understand how the Dunning-Kruger approach to this, which is maybe an overused thing to describe the situation. But like oftentimes when you come into something, and since I changed my career a couple of years ago, I went into it something where I knew enough to know about something, right? But then I knew I also knew I didn't know enough about it, and I'm starting to now get to the point where if I follow what's his name? What's that guy that writes books? Malcolm Gladwell. He writes about like 10,000 hours is how long it takes to become an expert or something. Well, at this point in my career, in my second career, in 2.5, I guess I'm getting close to 3 years. In 3 years, I've got probably 5,000 hours of experience, and I suspect he's wrong by a large margin that I'm not an expert. There's parts of it that I had even more experience of long before that I'm probably look more adept at than I actually am. But I think that anything you get into is going to require this. In physics, you get into this is the entire point of studying impulses and such. Okay, Victoria. Okay, so Victoria's like I'm on the same topic, but we're like there's a lot of different things go on, and the harder you get, like the harder you dig into something, or the deeper you dive into it, or dig into it, the more you realize what you're missing. Tiny Captain. Oh, the sign of being smart. Well, you know what? I don't want to take credit that isn't due, but I do really love the concepts of physics. I love the fact that like things are not really.
Yeah. Hey, I do have to get going now.
You get going though, Dr. Top. Yeah, no, you warned us. You warned us. It was great to have you. Great to have you here. We love having you here. I think our viewers loved it. 1 does not equal minus 0.9.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
Okay. All right. Get the heck out of here, Dr. Top. It was great to have you here. Thank you.
Yeah. See ya.
Thank you. So now you're stuck with a very dumb man. 1 does not equal 0.9. Repeating. Prove me wrong. Oh wait. Okay. So, yeah. I mean, I think this is the same. This is the same concept going in a slightly different direction, mathematically speaking. Is that you'll absolutely never reach 1, but for all intents and purposes, you're just going to be doing just as well, almost. Except that when it comes to 1, you're like you don't even have one whole thing to work with. Like you're always missing a piece of it. Doesn't matter how close you get to a whole, you never actually have 1. So I think maybe that's the other side of that same coin, right? Hey, Punk to Pasture, how you doing? I think you're just saying my name, but hello, Punk to Pasture. Good to have you here. You just missed Dr. Tap, or you've been watching Dr. Tap and enjoying it. Colleen told me dispatch wasn't midnight. It's 5 a.m. Move stream Tuesday. Oh, Commander. Okay, so everybody that enjoys Commander, which is all of you, I'm sure. This is the change is coming. I want everybody to know about this. I'm not really sure how to share Commander's information, but I think a lot of you know Commander more than you know me anyway. So this is important. And yeah, I think I'm all over the place. Later on Monday. Well, you know what? Hopefully you'll get a little more sleep, Commander, because I know I got an early start on Monday. Or not Monday. Tomorrow's Monday. I got Tuesday. I got a Tuesday start, and I get tomorrow off. So who knows? I might do some more discussing with things tomorrow. Got your happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Welcome. Dr. Tap just left. Dr. Tap was talking to us about a bunch of cool stuff. We talked about the two-way problem, the two-way versus one-way speed of light problem. we talked about I don't know. We talked about Commander was talking to us about Middle Eastern politics and other politics earlier on, which wasn't the breeziest conversation. And we talked about sci-fi. We talked about all the fun stuff. We talked about yeah. But anyway, Dr. Tapkin, it was super nice to have him here on the screen because he did the light fluffy physics and math, and Commander was here giving us the not as light and fluffy but also important politics, economics, wars, and stuff. So you know, when we're giving thanks for things, I think we need to remember that one of the things I'm thankful for is that as fucked up as the world is, sometimes we're lucky to be a little bit sheltered from some of the shittiest things that go on. So it gives us a chance to sit and talk and think, and the ability to not just be looking for the next scrap of food gives us the chance to think and talk and try to make life better. And I appreciate that greatly. And so that's something I think about in did he talk about taps? No, he did not talk about taps. We did very briefly talk about electricity. And I talked about the analogous somewhat analogous situation of like where water flows through a pipe, electricity flows through a wire, and about how that isn't quite right. When minus 9 infinity turns to 1. Yeah, the margin of error. Yeah, that's a good point, Captain. Here, I'll put this up here. But yeah, no, Dr. Tap did not talk about that. We did discuss the fact that he's a pentaweasel. And I think we had lots of fun with that. So, you know, these mathematical conversations, these physics conversations, the whole thing just makes my mind think. And I'm really lucky to have the ability to do some thinking that's beyond just how am I going to get some food in me, right? Need to get my head around. Infinity is just concept. Yeah, I mean, Victoria, I agree. Getting the idea that a concept of something, and what you could actually get to are two different things. And our ability to measure actual things, and actually like define what a thing is, despite the fact that it doesn't fit our intuition because it's something that doesn't fit the gauge of, say, something we recognize, right? Like we take a simple measuring device that we're all familiar with, like a ruler, and it has a margin of error, and everybody that's intellectually honest knows there's a margin of error, and people that are flirts, which I think a lot of us think are really funny. I don't want to make fun of people that are intellectually deficient, because it's not fair. But when they think they understand something really well and come out and say they get it and they totally understand it and they get it better than anyone else, I guess that's what's really funny. But yeah, I think if anybody wants to join, let me know and I'll put the link up. It may be back there somewhere, but I think it sort of scrolls away. I think it does. I don't really know. Anyway, and I know people have had to come and go, and that's the way life is. But I'm probably going to stop relatively soon anyway. But if anybody wants to try, let me know. But yeah, if you try to reach for infinity and you bend over to pick it up, and then you realize that when you bent over, your shoe kicked a grain of sand just past infinity, and that's actually the infinity you're looking for. And then you go to get that. I mean, you're just gonna a mote of dust is there, and that's what you need to pick up to have totally grabbed infinity. I mean, it just goes on and on. You can always add that one more thing, just like you can always divide. And again, with the 0.9, the repeating nines, reaching that one in our decimal system, you could add those nines from here to infinity, and you just would never actually have a whole thing. That's just the nature of it. You'd be so close you wouldn't care. But, you know, you would if you're just a mathematician and you're just thinking about math. You'd never be able to get beyond that, the concept. And I think our intuition tells us that there are limits to everything, that there's a start to everything, that there's an end to everything, because that's our experience. And yet, you know, when we think about what we know of our universe, I think this is where like the God, the caulking God comes from, the one that fills up the gaps. And you know, oh, you got a sub the other day, Punk to Pasture. I don't know if I'm a sub to you, but I hope that if I haven't become one, I'm going to get you on. Anyway, or maybe you mean you got a submarine, because we were talking about submarines for a very short time, and Commander was talking about machining tolerances on subs and what they do and don't do right. Commander, if you sub to Commander, you'll hear a lot of interesting tales of a lot of different things. They have a very interesting set of things. Big trunk on your Toyota Camry hybrid, as you could fit 10 bodies in there. They're easily maybe 15 if you fold them right. Yeah, that's a good point there, Commander. And I mean, Commander, think about this. Think about this. What if you stripped them all down to their most smallest particles and got rid of all the space in between them, and you had to deal with none of the strong or weak nuclear forces, and you could compress them tighter than matter sits in the sun. You know, you could hide them all in your Toyota Camry over and over again. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, we were having a conversation about if you had the density of a black hole and took all the matter of the Earth would be the size of a plum. You're going to have a one sub, zero stream. Well, Punk, you know, I know you've been on here before, and so you know what streaming's like. You just get out here and talk, and you know, some of it's good, some of it's not. I don't have so many subs that everybody's watching me, and I think a lot of the people that that run in my circles are they're here with me here, but they're also out with other folks, because a lot of folks are doing a lot of good shows. And I want to show for one of my favorite shows to watch on a Sunday night. And the Plum Earth. Yes, you told me that. I remember that. Yeah, you were the one that told me that. The Plum Earth. Yes, that's a good point. You did that. But Commander's trying to fit just 10 or 15 bodies in their Toyota Camry hybrid. And think of how many more they could fit if it was diesel powered, because it would have the torque to pull it up the hill with even maybe 25 bodies. But yeah, you got to fit them all. You couldn't even see them. That's right. Well, if you made them dense enough, they'd have so much gravity that they would absorb all the photons of light, and none would escape from them if you made it a black hole, I guess. At least that's my understanding of it. And does this qualify as mental masturbation? I'm really not sure. I think this is more like just leafing through the articles in Mental Penthouse. I think this is like Penthouse, not even Penthouse Forum. This is the article about like some new. This is like the Playboy article or something. Keep the smell down. Yeah, well, I mean, I assume that odors are actually like particles and molecules and things. They're particles of matter of some sort, right? That actually have a characteristic that can be smelled. They're not like odors aren't energy. Odors are a thing. They're an actual thing that you sense, I believe. If anybody knows if that's not true, I'd love to know it. But I've always understood that when you smell something, you're smelling an actual matter. How many bodies fit in a 2CV? A 2CV. Tiny Captain, we may need you to expound upon that, because I'm not sure if I know what a 2CV is. I'm wondering if that's a vehicle, or if it's something else, and I'm just not thinking what it is. That's true, Punk to Pasture, but a really good friend, like a best friend, floats in an excavator and helps you bury them, or they'll never be found. So, keep that in mind. And I don't know if I'm friends with anybody that much, but I do float in a lot of excavators, and I can't say what people do with them when they dig a hole. Usually they put in a building or something, but I don't just stick around to find out. I give them their hoe and off I go. Armies of penguin soldiers have to find creative ways to dispose of the flat earthers. Soylent Green, yes, it's flat earthers. Fuck. Yeah, Commander, that's hilarious. The Flurfs are an interesting bunch. I know there's been a few Flurf streams, and I really enjoyed watching. See, I was about to shill for Maya's show. Maya is one of my favorite creators because she has some serious stuff. She does some less serious stuff. She has strong and well-founded opinions, right? She's an old Citroën. Okay. All right. Tiny Captain. I'm not the most well-versed in European cars, but I know what a Citroën is. I guess is Citroën the one that made the weird three-wheeled car? I feel like it is, but I'm probably wrong. And there are, I think Citroën actually there's a small group of their cars that have been modified to electric vehicles that are in somewhere around Ontario. I've seen 2 or 3 of them, not a lot of them, and only in the summertime. But because I think they're classics that have been modified and that nobody wants them out in assault. But, let us know if you know more. I might try to look that up for another stream and talk about some weird vehicles that are out there. I was doing some thinking about that earlier in another world, in another thing. French car fits 2 in the front and Soissons neuf in the back. Yes, well, that's right, Tiny Captain. Soissons neuf translates in any language. I think we all know what that means. And if you don't know what Soissons neuf is, then go experiment. Crazy conspiracy, pushing misinformation, peddling grifters. Yeah. I mean, Punk. That's part of it. Anyway, Maya's got a thing she calls Bad Science Sunday. I wanna put that. I want to put that out there for people that are into liking Dr. Tap, who you've seen on here a few times. Maya and Dr. Tap are like the regulars, and other people go on the show. I think Maya's even going to let me on it if I haven't totally pissed her off. I hope I haven't. I was yelling at people on her. I was yelling at people that weren't there on her stream that she was sharing yesterday in a conversation she had, which was also really interesting. So I definitely want to share her as a person to check out. Yes, Bad Science Sunday. Amber, welcome, Amber. It is great to have you here. So yeah, Amber, I am pushing Bad Science Sunday because I think Maya's going to let me be on the show at some point. Not this weekend. I know that's for sure. It's not today. But Ember's been on it, I'm pretty sure. And Ember's an awesome creator. They do all sorts of takedowns of all sorts of garbage. And garbage that's masking itself as reasonable information. So Ember is cool. And if you don't know Ember and you know me, then there's something totally wrong. But welcome, Ember. We are glad to have you here. I got to do a show with Nitty a few weeks ago. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Nitty. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Nitty's an excellent. Yeah, Punk. That's right. I didn't know that anyone would have to translate that, but I forget that a lot of viewers may not be bilingual or trilingual or even know what a Soissons neuf is. I mean, I know most English speakers know what a ménage à trois is, but not all of them realize that a Soissons neuf could be part of it. And you never know. It could be a 969, depending on how you play your cards. Yeah, so yeah, Nitty is pretty cool. Now my wife is gonna call me, so I'm gonna have to take that. And I guess I should probably like mute myself because who knows. All right, I've just been told that I am gonna finish this thing up. Do I like stuff? Of course I like stuff. Gray, how's it going, buddy?
Hi.
Hey, hey, I'm gonna stop doing this thing in about 2 minutes. Is that cool? I'm gonna start making some supper. But I'm still broadcasting this thing, which mom's told me I gotta stop doing because she wants me to cook supper or something, you know?
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll be up soon. Is your game still working or do you want me to come help you with it?
Yeah, it's still working. It's
Okay.
just very hard.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. So here the thing is, I love stuff. I love my family. I love a lot of things. And so, if anybody can manage to wait a few more hours, Bad Science Sunday's coming. But I bet there's other stuff going on. I know that usually on a Sunday afternoon, What the Beck is on. If you're not already watching that, check that out. I know they have a cool show on, and I think I heard through the grapevine that Kentucky Atheist is doing a presentation of some sort. And yeah, craft dinner and hot dogs. Yes. Well, I think some of my family had craft dinner earlier. I had leftover pizza. My son had quesadillas. My wife had leftover pizza, and I know my daughter had craft dinner because she made that, and she's good at it. She knows the recipe, and we get out our Dijon ketchups, and we really enjoy it. So anyway, I think we covered a lot of stuff. I really appreciate how many wonderful people came to watch, and it was really cool to see all of you, and we'll have some more conversations out there. But yeah, if I start making pork medallions now, we'll probably have some good food. Yes, Victoria, Thanksgiving time for me too. Victoria, I don't know if you're aware that I'm Canadian. You probably tell from the accent. So and Punk is also Canadian, and that's why you can see they are talking about the great Thanksgiving miracle. Yeah, am I a millionaire? Yes, but unfortunately, I am a Canadian millionaire, which means all I can afford is craft dinner, and I have to steal the Dijon ketchups from Howard Johnson. So, yeah, I think yeah, back is on now. Aaron is going to be live in 40. Yes, and Ember, I know you've been talking about getting back to being on the road, and your stuff's going to be a little different. But Ember also often will do a little warm up for Maya's and send people over there. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. He just eats more. Yes, it is absolutely is. Tiny Captain, appreciate that. And yes, I probably did too much of this today. My wife thinks I'm a little nuts. She thinks I'm a lot nuts, but I like getting around and talking to people about cool stuff and energy, because you can't just go with stuff, because stuff's held together with energy. It comes apart with energy. And apparently I've got to put some energy into something else right now. So thanks to all of you for being here. And I'm going to just wave goodbye to everyone. And somebody be up to no good on Sundays again as well. Yes, Ember, we enjoy it. Oh yes, Tiny Captain is Dutch. Yes, so Tiny Captain stayed up really late, and Tiny Captain does some cool stuff. I know Tiny Captain comes on Slim Show, which I'm sometimes on a few of the weekdays, and I don't know what else Tiny Captain does because I'm really bad at knowing what everybody does. So I'll do some research, and I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna wish everyone a happy Canadian Thanksgiving, and just a happy time in general. So thank you to everyone. And did I put this up here? Yes. Remember, you're going to be up to no good, and I'm definitely up to no good. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend, what's left of it. And be well. Be a choice. Okay, I'm putting this up just before I hit the button. Yes. Thank you. So I got to hit the button twice.